Story 1. The apartment in Hakioji. This happened when I was living in Hakioji during my time at university. I had moved to Tokyo from Chiba, and over the course of that move, I lived in 3 different apartments. This experience took place in the second apartment I moved into. I found the place through a realtor. The building itself was quite old, but it had recently been renovated. What really drew me in was the structure and layout. It was unusual, almost quirky, but in a way that felt interesting rather than inconvenient. As soon as I viewed it, I knew I wanted it, so I told the realtor right away and signed the contract. At the time, I had a girlfriend, and she moved in with me. Let me explain the layout, because it becomes important later. The apartment was on the 2nd floor, located at the corner of the building. What made it special was that I had my own private staircase connected directly to the unit. Beneath the staircase was a parking space, which made everyday life much easier. When you opened the front door, the toilet was immediately on the right, and further down the hall on the right was the kitchen. On the left were the stairs, and next to them was the entrance to the living room. If you went up the stairs, there was a single door that led into a small attic space. I really liked that attic. The whole floor plan was strange, but cool. At first, everything felt normal. Then the strange things began. One evening, my girlfriend and I were sitting in the living room, drinking and watching TV, when we both heard the sound of the front door handle moving. My girlfriend immediately panicked. Her face went pale, and she froze in place. I tried to laugh it off. "Relax," I said. "It's probably just the wind." That was a lie. My heart was pounding as fast as it possibly could, but I forced myself to stay calm. A few seconds later, we heard the sound again, this time louder. That's when my girlfriend nearly started crying. I couldn't just sit there. I told her to stay where she was while I went to check. I was absolutely terrified. As I stepped out of the living room and faced the front door, I saw it clearly. The door handle was moving up and down, violently, exactly like someone outside was trying to force their way in. The door rattled as if there was real strength behind it. That's when I realized something horrifying. The door wasn't locked. And then, before I could react, it flew open. I expected to see a crazed intruder standing there, someone with a knife, or at least a face. But there was no one. The hallway outside was completely empty. That particular fear slowly faded, but something worse replaced it. I called out to my girlfriend and lied, telling her it was just garbage being blown around by the wind. Despite the empty hallway, I was still shaking. The things you can't see are far more frightening than the things you can. We tried to forget about it and kept drinking. I'm not good with alcohol. I get drunk easily and usually feel sick, but that night was different. I hadn't drunk much at all when suddenly my breathing became fast and shallow. Everything felt hazy, like I was looking through a yellow filter. Something was very wrong. I felt like I was either going to faint or die. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore and asked my girlfriend to call an ambulance. I was taken to the hospital, where the doctor said I'd suffered from hyperventilation, likely caused by stress. By the time they examined me, the symptoms had already begun to fade. That confused me. I hadn't felt stressed, at least, not consciously. Later that night, I called my mother. She has always believed she can sense spirits. I don't believe I have that ability, so I didn't expect what she said. "That sounds like the early symptoms of possession," she told me. "You need to be very careful." That terrified me. The hyperventilation episodes continued and became regular. I learned to manage them better, but I knew I couldn't stay in that apartment. My girlfriend agreed. About a month later, we returned home one evening and saw something disturbing. There were people gathered near our parking space, a monk, mourners dressed in black, flowers, and burning incense. A woman stepped forward and explained that her husband had taken his own life in our apartment just days before we moved in. Despite the monk's reassurance that the spirit was now at peace, I complained to the landlord and moved out. The hyperventilation stopped immediately. Story 2. The Mountain Cabin. This story was told to me by a friend who loves mountain climbing. He once started a climb late in the day and decided to spend the night at the summit in an unmanned cabin. That night, he woke around 2 a.m. to the sound of the cabin door rattling. It didn't sound like the wind. It sounded like people. Eventually, the door creaked open, and 4 figures entered: a man, a woman, a boy, and a girl. They wore torn clothing and carried no lights. They walked around the cabin silently, as if searching for something. When they left, my friend fainted from fear. At the base of the mountain the next morning, he learned that a family had gone missing on that mountain months earlier. He's convinced they were spirits. Story 3. The breathing. Whenever I sleep anywhere other than my own bedroom, hotels, motels, I hear a strange sound. It sounds like someone breathing. One night, I heard it at home. With the lights off, I saw two white eyes staring back at me in the dark. A bound figure appeared, taped, breathing steadily. There was no panic in them, only resignation. Then they faded away. Story 4. The shadow that looked like me. When I was in high school, studying late at night, I saw a shadowy figure watching me from an empty room across the hall. It moved like a person. It was the same height as me. It looked like it had my hair, my clothes. It disappeared down the stairs. I never saw it again. Story 5. The cat at the door. When I was sick and home alone, I heard my cat meowing outside my locked bedroom door, but the sound came from head height. Then I heard my mother's voice calling me, even though she was still at work. Something tried to break the door down. Later, my mother returned home and found the cat dead outside my door. I believe the cat saved my life. Story 6. The footprints in the snow. A mountain ranger encountered a grieving father speaking to the wind. The man claimed he was speaking to his deceased son. Afterward, child-sized footprints appeared in the snow, then vanished. Story 7. The shadow companion. A man raised by a single mother spent his childhood talking to a black shadow that comforted him and played with him. It never scared him. It still appears in his life during important moments. Story 8. The loft. Living in a loft apartment, someone heard breathing below them, then the sound of someone climbing a ladder. When the light went out, a voice whispered near their ear, "Who are you?" Story 9. The nurse named Nozaki. A nurse learned that patients who spoke of a kindly nurse named Nozaki were speaking of someone who had died. Every patient who mentioned her passed away soon after. Story 10. The scarred face. As a child, I saw a scarred figure staring at me from a car. Later, I learned a bullied girl had taken her life in that very spot. The last words I heard were, "I hate them."